Hallo miteinander, I'm Shady6 and this is the Let's Play Bingo. Already in the first week we are playing a Toho fan game, Dynamarisa 3D. Like many of its kind, it spoofs an already existing game, in this case Earth Defense Force 2017. That game is a somewhat arcadey third-person shooter, and what do you know, so is Dynamarisa 3D. Now I have to admit at this point, I don't know a whole lot about Earth Defense Force 2017 or the rest of its franchise, but what I do know is that its most common enemy are oversized alien ants called Ravagers. Can you spot the similarities? Anyway, Dynamarisa 3D. Most important what you need to know about it story-wise is that our character here, Marisa, and the witch Patchouli have declared all-out warfare on each other. Because Marisa couldn't stop stealing books from her, Patchouli has built a colossal robot army to fend her off. Marisa, on the other hand, has recruited some of the Scarlet Devil Mansion's fairy servants to join her cause. How did she bribe them? With food. Yes, that is all it takes to sway their pea-brained minds into committing high treason. But yeah, because of this, you have a squad in this game, present in pretty much all missions. Now for every mission we play, we'll be using a different setup of weapons, just so that you'll see as many of the Magi cannons as possible. That's what the guns in this game are called. Apart from that, we will also not be playing the missions in order. Instead, I will show you the ones that I especially like. That's why we're already jumping from mission 1 to 4. What's so good about it? It has cake the size of garages. Delicious! Our objective actually has to do with said cake. We need to conquer this dining hall to have provisions for our fairy soldiers. Now here are even more fairies. Problem, they're with the enemy. You can tell by the shine that they have around them. Anything that is red purplish is hostile. Your own fairies will be light blue. That's kind of important to know because friendly fire is possible in this game. You don't want to shoot your own units because then you'll have no more cannon fodder to distract the enemy. Gotta tell you something here. When I first played the demo of this game, which is only in Japanese, I didn't know of these squad mechanics and I just killed everything in sight, especially my own guys. Not very smart. Oh well, eventually I realized my mistake. Better late than never. Let's go over the controls next. They're pretty simple. Apart from moving, aiming and shooting, you can jump. You don't very often need to because this game is not very platformy, but you might, if debris is in the way, for example. More important than jumping is your dodge roll. You need to, well, dodge. To my knowledge, it is also the only way to start sprinting, just by holding forward after doing a roll. That can be crucial for getting out of a jam and building some distance between your enemies. The only two other things you can do are switching to your secondary gun and using your scope to zoom in. Our current magic cannons don't have a scope, but we might use some later that do. Just maybe. Well, that's pretty much all you can do. It's not a very complex game, but you know, in my eyes, that is okay. Sometimes you just need some light cuisine. A game where you can let loose and just flatten a huge amount of enemies. In the end though, it's not a complete no-brainer. The most important strategic decision is your choice of magic cannons. Remember, you can only ever bring 2. The ones we have right now are the Yokai Needle Rifle, a very straightforward gun that fires in bursts, and the Star Bow. Oh boy, the Star Bow. It fires homing missiles, but I'm not sure if they're worthy of being called homing. Yes, they do home, but they sometimes switch targets for no apparent reason. All in all, I'm not a big fan of the Star Bow, because the tracking is very unreliable. I also don't like the Cranberry very much, a gun of the same family. Both of those are references to the character Flandre, who is in this game by the way. Selling point for anyone who really likes her. But yeah, balancing in this game is by no means perfect. There are guns I consider garbage. In the case of the star bow, well, it's at least worth showing off. Some of the other guns, they would make me look bad. Okay, we have now completed the mission, and in case you can't follow the extremely fast radio chatter, we have now formed the PDF, the Patchouli Defense Force. Note that we defend from Patchouli, not Patchouli. Why would we want to defend her? Like I said, the mission is now over, and whenever one is, you can collect your spoils and unwrap them. Every box with a yellow face on it that you collect is revealed to be a magic cannon. Usually you would want to look at them, keep them, exchange them, or throw them away. But we don't need that kind of micromanagement right now, so let's just select our guns and choose Mission 7. This one features enemy spawning UFOs, 2 to be precise, and they would be pretty easy to destroy because they're such large targets. Only problem, you can only hurt them once they open up. That's right, you've got to Independence Day that shit. That was a very silly movie, but this game is too, so comparison is okay. And the first one goes down, but not before deploying its cargo, which is too bad. Even if you're quick at destroying the UFOs, they usually do that. Makes things a little bit harder for us, but we'll get over it. Usually a mission won't end before every single enemy is destroyed, you know. Well, the UFO dropped some neat stuff. Apart from the weapon boxes we've talked about, there are 2 other pickups in the game. Yellow mushrooms. They regenerate health and come in 2 different sizes, small and large. The other item is hats. Touhous need a lot of hats, so you want to get as many of them as you can. Every single one increases your maximum hit points by 2 permanently, so there is a certain kind of character growth in this game. You start the game with 200 hit points, we now have 996, meaning I've collected roughly 400 hats on this playthrough. That is too few hats. It is unacceptable for a person to have so few hats, so we need to keep collecting. The second saucer, as we've just seen, is also history now. One more thing about them, you need range to kill them. Our Shine Rocket Launcher RF1 has enough of that, but general rule of thumb, bring at least 1 weapon with some reach. Now just imagine if we went in this level with double shotguns. We literally wouldn't have been able to kill our enemies and we would have just been stuck. You would have to restart in that case. Good thing we don't. That would have been shameful. Only do something along those lines if you know a level very well. And we're just about done here. Another mission is in the bag. Just as a bit of general info, this game has 26 missions in total and 5 selectable difficulties, so it does have quite a bit of substance to it. What's next? I really would have liked to show you mission 10, but that one takes a pretty long time to complete, because you have to take it very defensively. If you don't, the patchouli themed spherical tanks on stilts will wreck you completely. Instead, we're going to jump right ahead to mission 15. That's another pretty cool one. It also has a new type of enemy, one that is pretty rare in the game as a whole, doesn't use it very much. It is also set in the outside, so we will be seeing some daylight for a change. Take a good look at those majestic looking lion statues. Gotta warn you though, don't get too used to them. This time we have a different model of the yokai needle rifle with us, one that shoots a single shot, a very powerful one too. Very good weapon if you're accurate. I'm not always, but that doesn't matter because we also have this, the Punisher 15, probably my favorite magic cannon so far. It's really great and especially powerful if the whole load hits. It's loaded with knives, by the way, kinda strange. Okay, since the first wave of enemies isn't so bad, let's use that time to talk about the game's reloading mechanics. There's actually a lot to them. You will often see the word charging popping up above Marissa's head. That means we've emptied a clip and a gun is automatically reloading. What's so special about this? You can pause a reload every time you switch to your other gun, and when you switch back, it will resume at the same value, no loss. What this means in terms of gameplay for you is that you want to avoid having both of your magic cannons at a low charge value, because if you suddenly get into a tight spot, you will have nothing to defend yourself with. And that always sucks. You know what else sucks? That. Ouch! Those are the new enemies that I mentioned before. Giant motorized beetles. They just love running you over while you're not looking. And whenever you see them, make destroying them your very first priority. Because if you don't, they will just sneak up on you again and again. To wrap up the part about reloading, Magi cannons have different clip sizes and even different reloading speeds. Some are very good in both of those categories, and it's generally a smart idea to bring at least one gun that is very quick to have at the ready. In that regard, the weapons we are currently using are adequate, not too great, but also not terrible in my opinion. And oh, you darn beetles, always mowing us over. Yeah, they can be very annoying, but look at it like that. They spice things up. We wouldn't want it any other way. I think that one there is the very last one though, so once we take care of him, none of them will be bugging us anymore. Yeah, sorry I had to go there. Something useful to talk about. In the very top right corner is our radar. You might have noticed it already. To quickly explain it, red dots are our enemies, blue ones are our allies, which you can't see right now because they've all been wiped out. All of our friends are dead. Finally, green dots are pickups. It's very good that you can see those too. That way you won't miss any, and you'll get strong and stay alive. A neat feature of that radar is that it's kind of three-dimensional. See those lines attached to the dots? That means that the fairies are floating above us. Yeah, it's cool to know an enemy's altitude for multi-floored maps. Yes, those do exist. The one we're on right now is really just an open arena, but some might be different. For example, a place called the Labyrinth later on. Gotta say, I really don't like the Labyrinth. Too much running around. Problem with that place is your radar doesn't really suffice for it. I'd say you'd rather need a mini-map. Because you know, you might be able to tell the rough positions of enemies, but how do you get there? You could be following a long corridor, hoping that it would bend in that direction, but it doesn't. Then you're kind of at a loss. I don't like that. It takes my flow away. Well, we are almost done here. All that's left to do is find the last few remnants of our enemies and weed those out. You remember how beautiful this courtyard looked when we first laid eyes upon it? Well, yeah, that's what it turned into. Everything might be in shambles right now, but look at the bright side. We're not the ones who have to clean it up. That would be Sakuya's duty, the silver-haired lady who was just in the radio chatter right now. We are victorious once again. Wasn't exactly a close call, was it? You might be wondering, why are we only playing on the second of 5 difficulties? Because I'm a pansy? No. It's because these are Diablo-esque difficulty levels, not classical ones that you would choose by your personal skill estimation. They're basically new game pluses that take your growth into account. If we tried to play on a harder difficulty right now, we would get so flattened because we just don't have the necessary magic cannons and hats. Since we're very close to the 15-minute mark, let's just do one more mission. I've left a very special one for last, against the second boss, this massive patchouli-themed robot mecha Jaeger Gundam thingy. It may very strongly remind you of the final boss in Megamari. Now wait. Hold your horses, don't shout rip-off, because Megamari and this were by the same developer, Twilight Frontier. They've made a lot of games, they're a pretty big fish in the Japanese indie scene. Now what other games have they made? Oh yes, Puella Magi Madoka Magica Grief Syndrome. You might have heard of that one, you know, if you watch some unknown Let's Player guy. Maybe. Anywho, our foe here is mostly a ranged fighter, and with that I mean medium range, because dueling it with a sniper actually works pretty well for you most of the time. If you still don't like that, another strategy would be slipping under it, getting on its backside and gnawing at its heels. Like that. Like a small angry puppy. That's kind of how I feel like against this guy. As mentioned before, our weapons of choice this time are sniper rifles. The Red Spear Custom has extra long range, but the Demon Fork is also cool. That's the one that shoots 3 bullets at once. Not actually too bad against enemy groups, that one. Whoa, gotta watch out when Robo Patchouli bends its knees to jump. Avoiding the stomp itself isn't all that hard, but watch out for those bouncing balls. They have quite an explosion radius to them, as you can see there. Oh, there are some more. How are we going to get out of this one? Somehow we did, I don't know how, but we did. Such huge fireworks are part of the reason why I like this boss more than the first one. That one, by the way, is also a mecha, but it's different in that it is more of a melee type. It runs around a lot more, and it has a drill hand that it uses against you. Oof, well, we just got stepped on. It's kinda strange that only takes away 40 HP, but that's how this game rolls. Now about this boss and the other boss that I told you about before, can you believe that there's a stage later on in the game where you fight both of them at once? Yeah, that's really chaotic, that one. As if this game wasn't already completely insane. You know, that's one of the cool things about Touhou as a franchise. You can kind of get away with anything. Want to give everyone future military equipment like here? Done, no problem. Now imagine if you wanted to do something like that to Zelda. Apart from literally not being allowed to do so because of copyright thingies and such, if you gave Link a big-ass rocket launcher and some power armor, you should brace yourself for some death threats. So, this video is getting very close to its end. Before it does, I want to say one more thing. Dynamarisa 3D, pretty fun and easy to digest game. The reason you're seeing it today is because of one of our bingo spots, titled Games That Have 3D in the title. If you think about it, that is actually a very restrictive condition. Not too many games have that, if you exclude all the 3DS titles, which I have no idea how you would record. That there was actually a Touhou game that fulfilled these requirements really filled me with glee. Speaking of 3D, a 3D mode for this game can be toggled in the options, but I didn't get it to work just yet. I don't think it would even translate to YouTube. Oh, would you look at that? The giant is going down, and it gives us one more view that really is this game in a nutshell. There, isn't it beautiful? Oh yes. In all my excitement, I completely forgot that, well, the boss dropped some items and I was supposed to get them. Oh well, probably wasn't anything important anyways. But yeah, that is Dynamarisa 3D. I'm Gash86, this was my first week contribution to the Let's Play Bingo, and I'm eager to see how it goes on. Bis bald!